Hey team, my name is Mr. Hopbach and I'm here to help clear up some differences between AP US Government and AP US and Comparative Government at Lake Braddock Secondary School. We'll spend a little bit of time on discussing DE, but I am not an expert in that class. So anyway, just as a point of clarification, like AP US Government is a 3-credit class and Comparative Government is a second 3-credit class. So if you're taking them both together, it would be 6 credits. To give you a sense of like general content load, like A-Push is a 6-credit class. DE Government is also a 3-credit course because it's dealing only with US government. Honors and standard government classes offer no college credit, which I think is probably self-explanatory. But a couple of things. Government and history, they're not the same. Like in history, you're learning facts and like things that happened, and there is a general story. Yes, you're doing analysis too. I don't mean to say like it's just story time. But government doesn't have a chronological story. It is much more about the principles and procedures of how government works and then applying that knowledge to various situations. So it's possible that you really like history and you would not like government. Unfortunately, that doesn't really matter only because governments are a required class. All of these classes that I just mentioned fulfill the requirement to graduate from Fairfax County Public Schools, actually the state of Virginia. But either way. All right, so DE government. Like, I don't know a lot, but I know a little bit, so like just to cover that briefly. DE basically is running it the way it's been run at Lake Braddock, not necessarily anywhere else, is that there are 5 project-based learning projects. There's founders deliberation. There's a model Congress, there's an elections project, there are 3 rounds of moot courts, and there is a government in action project. Government in action project, yeah. And there are 2 grade books. You'd have the NOVA grade book and the FCPS grade book. To get college credit, you'd have to pass the NOVA class, not the FCPS class. NOVA is the one that awards credit, and you'd have to talk to counselors for details. I think one question I would ask is, if you were looking at it from a college admissions standpoint, does a DE government look as rigorous as AP US government? Like as I'm putting in the notes here, like AP US government is run by College Board. It's a nationally recognized program. People know what goes into AP US government. DE varies from teacher to teacher, and so schools may not view it the same way. All right, so there are some other differences between DE and AP US government I just want to go over. We do some of the same PBL projects, like we run the Model Congress. It's fairly similar. I'm sure there's some differences. We do the Founders Deliberation, though I think we do it a little bit quicker. We do the moot courts, but we only do 2 rounds, not 3 rounds. It means that you'll have an opportunity to argue a case as well as an opportunity to judge a case. And then we are doing an elections project. It is similar, but it is different. Like the difference is like we're using real candidates as opposed to ones that students invent. So if the creativity aspect there of making up your own candidate appeals to you, then by all means, like DE government may be for you. Yeah. And you need to pass the AP exam for credit. Honestly, I don't think that's that difficult, but a whole different issue. All right, so I'm now moving on to AP government only because I'm not an expert in DE government, okay? So policies that are same across both classes, mostly because like there's certain things that I think are important. I think flexibility is key. Like what you don't know is that college applications are miserable. First semester senior year is harder than your junior year. Why? Only because college applications end up meaning that you have a lot of extra work to do, and it's stressful. Other AP classes may be less stressful, because less flexible. Why? Because they have a curriculum that they need to follow at a certain point, like you need to complete Unit 1 before you can move on to Unit 2, etc., etc. AP government isn't really like that. So we have the ability to be more flexible. This is true of both AP US and AP US and comparative government. Second chance tests are up to 100% for mastery assessments, whether those are multiple choice tests, FRQs, writing assignments, presentations. All that stuff can be done a second time, assuming that it is a master grade, because obviously some of those like writing assignments or presentations could be another category depending on the course and just the day, the assignment. All right, and so they both have AP exams. I don't think this is news, but like when you sign up for AP US and comparative, you're signing up for both exams. You only pay for one, but you sign up for both. So AP US Government has 155 multiple choice question exam, and 4 FRQs. There are no DBQs. There's nothing resembling a DBQ. We have 1 argument FRQ, which is similar to the LAQ in A push. The other 3 FRQs are more similar to SAQs. I think it might be a little bit more because you have to read, but like the writing is not significant. And really the same is true in comparative, except it's double, right? 2 multiple choice exams, 4 FRQs. Each one has an argument FRQ. They're both pretty similar. And the other 6 are similar to the SAQs. Okay. But here's where it really comes into play. And this is sort of like to understand. AP US Government is a slow-paced AP class. It is easy to fit in if you're taking other AP classes because it's just not that stressful. It is also a great class to take as your first AP class. Why? Because we're going at a moderate pace. We are here to support you. We're also going with those flexible policies, which are true in both the classes. So it is designed for success for first-time AP students. It focuses on U.S. government and politics only. I'm not talking about other nations. AP US and comparative government is fast-paced. It is 6 credits. Because each class is, just say 3 credits, but it says 2. All right, well, that's wrong. Each class is 3 credits. Designed for students who have a background knowledge in U.S. government and politics. Like, the idea is, I have 2 options in comparative government. And one is that I teach double the content. And the other is that I cheat and I assume that people know stuff. I do both. So if you have no background in AP US government, meaning like you never took civics or whatever else, the class becomes a lot more challenging because whether I assign readings or not, it means that you are going to have to do more background research to make sure that you know what's going on in US government. But in comparative government, we also cover like China, Mexico, Nigeria, Iran, Russia, United Kingdom, and the United States. So who should take AP US in comparative government? You'd want to be interested in learning about those countries, both government and politics about them. So if you're not interested in learning about those countries or their governments, don't take this class. It doesn't make any sense. Either way, you have the AP label, whether you take AP US or AP comparative, US and comparative, take the easier route. It's less work. You should have some background on US government. What does that mean? Like, hopefully you took civics in 8th grade. You should maybe follow some political news. Have some interest in US foreign policy. This is, officially it's not a foreign policy class. But if you look at that list of countries, a lot of them factor heavily into our foreign policy. So some foreign policy concepts are integrated into the class. But the emphasis is on the government structures, how it works, the internal politics of those countries. You want to be comfortable with collaborative work. We do collaborative work. I don't think this is a good first-time AP class. Like, you should have taken other AP classes. Probably experience with AP World or A Push would be helpful. We're doing way more presentations and written assignments. Like, I am de-emphasizing the AP exam in comparative, but that means that I'm substituting it with real-world assignments. And so where AP US Gov has some PBL as well as like multiple choice tests, I've really de-emphasized that in comparative. So there are challenges with AP US and comparative. Like, this is not meant as a sales pitch. This is to inform you. It's a lot of conceptual material up front, and it made people angry. And it does, because it's like, you have to know all this vocabulary before we start comparing. And I'm basically throwing a good chunk of the course at you right at the beginning of the year. So we do an intro to comparative, then we jump into the Constitution, then we flip back to the United Kingdom, comparing the United Kingdom's lack of Constitution to the US's Constitution, what advantages and disadvantages that provides. We then jump into elections. We go to a unit on Russia. Then we jump to federalism in the United States, then back to China to go to comparative, then to the U.S. executive branch, then to Mexico, then to the U.S. legislative branch, then Iran, then likely we'll also do Nigeria right after Iran, and wrap up with civil liberties and civil rights. It's a lot. All right, so this is like, that's the sort of stuff that you want, by all means. Earlier I pointed out AP US Government has 3 to 3.5 PBL projects, and like they're fairly standard between DE and AP US Government. US Comparative, it's different. So I'll try to do some of the US PBL, but like, I don't know if we'll have time. And that's what really ends up happening. So we have different assignments, like a Socratic seminar on the United Kingdom, designing your own election system. We have an essay on Putin's future legitimacy and stability. So, like, that is a legit essay. I didn't have anyone who wrote less than 4 pages that got above a C. So, like, I didn't have a space requirement on it, but for the ones I've graded, that's what happened. So, it is actual work. We do a conference on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to kind of like compare different countries' view of human rights. We'll likely do a cabinet simulation and analysis of Mexico's president. Then we'll probably take a look back at the Iranian nuclear treaty and see what senators it would take to convince them to actually approve a treaty, and who in the Iranian government would agree to this again. Like, what are the Iranian politics to that? We have not designed anything on Nigeria and Boko Haram, but that is likely a topic that we would do. But honestly, as of January 2022, I haven't done anything with that. In the end, maybe we have time for an abbreviated model Congress or one round of moot courts. But that's really my lowest priority. The priority in this class ends up being the different countries that we study. And so it's interesting, but it is also, either you have the incoming background knowledge or you have a lot of textbook reading to do just to make sure that you're kept up with the U.S. Like, I will teach U.S., but it's quick. So anyway, that's kind of a brief background on the difference between AP US Government and AP Comparative Government. I look forward to seeing some of you next year in either of those 2 classes. Have a great day.